The great hall of the alien council was silent. High walls of shining metal rose above the people, glowing with blue lights that never faded. Strange symbols ran across the walls, glowing like stars. Dozens of alien eyes watched a single human man who stood in the center of the hall. His name was Daniel. He was not a soldier, not a hero, just an ordinary man who had once made an extraordinary friend. Daniel's friend was not human. His friend was from a proud alien race who believed in honor, loyalty, and blood ties. That friend had saved Daniel's life long ago, and since then, the two had been closer than brothers. But now that friend was gone. He had died in a battle far away, fighting enemies who wanted to destroy his people. Daniel had been invited to this council not for celebration, but for a reading of the will. He thought it would be simple. Perhaps his friend had left him a gift, a small reminder of their friendship. Maybe a weapon, maybe a book, maybe nothing at all. But Daniel had come out of respect, because his friend had been like family to him. The hall grew colder as the alien elder entered. The elder's robes were heavy, marked with golden lines, and his eyes glowed with deep wisdom. His voice echoed through the chamber. "Daniel, son of Earth," the elder said, "you stand here because of the will of your fallen friend. He has left something for you." Daniel bowed his head. "I am honored," he replied softly. The elder raised a long hand, and the crowd leaned forward to hear. "By the law of our people, when a warrior dies without brothers, his most trusted companion inherits his duties. You were his closest friend. You are now his heir." Daniel frowned. The word heir felt heavy. "I do not understand," he said. "What duties?" The elder's glowing eyes fixed on him. "You have inherited his family," the hall murmured. Aliens whispered to one another, some in shock, others in anger. Daniel froze. "His family?" The elder nodded slowly. "Yes, his sisters." Daniel's heart pounded. He shook his head, thinking he had misunderstood. But the elder continued. "In our law, to inherit the sisters is to protect them, guide them, and care for them. But know this, Daniel of Earth, protection and care come with a deeper bond. By our ancient custom, his sisters are now your wives." Gasps filled the chamber. Alien voices rose in disbelief. Some hissed with anger, others laughed with surprise. Daniel felt the ground slipping away from under his feet. Wives, how could that be? He had not asked for this. He had not agreed to this. "I cannot," Daniel said, his voice trembling. "I am human. Your laws are not my laws." The elder lifted a hand and silence fell again. "The law is above all. To refuse is to dishonor the one you called friend. His blood is your blood. His family is now your family. The bond cannot be broken." Daniel felt 1,000 alien eyes burning into him. He wanted to run, to shout that it was wrong, but the memory of his friend's face came to him. His friend had trusted him, had believed in him. Could he really walk away? The elder's voice lowered, but its weight filled the air. "You may not understand now, but the law binds you. The sisters are waiting. They know who you are. They know what you must become." At that moment, the great doors of the hall opened. A soft light spilled into the chamber, and figures began to appear. Daniel turned and saw them. Tall, graceful, their features strange yet beautiful, their eyes glowing with a mixture of sorrow and curiosity. The sisters of his friend. They walked forward slowly, robes flowing, their faces partly hidden by veils. The hall went silent again. Every step they took made Daniel's heart beat faster. He felt trapped, lost, caught between two worlds. One of the sisters raised her head slightly. Her eyes met his, and in them he saw something he could not explain. It was not hatred. It was not joy. It was something deeper, a warning. The elder's voice broke the silence. "Daniel of Earth, son of no brother, you are bound. Accept this inheritance or reject it and face exile. Choose now." Daniel could not speak. His throat was dry, his hands shaking. He looked again at the sisters, at the crowd, at the glowing hall. He realized this was no gift, no honor. This was a chain. A law that would change his life forever. And in that silence, as the sister stopped before him, one whispered words only he could hear. Her voice was soft but filled with urgency. "You don't know the danger you are in." The word struck him like a blade. What danger? Why would she say that? What secret did these sisters hide? Daniel's mind raced with fear and questions. But deep inside he knew one thing. Whatever this inheritance was, it was only the beginning of something far greater and far more dangerous than he could ever imagine. The council chamber was heavy with silence. Daniel stood frozen in the center, his heart beating like a drum. The elder's words still echoed in his mind. You have inherited his sisters. They are now your wives by law. He wanted to believe it was some cruel joke, a misunderstanding in translation, but the stern faces around him told another story. Aliens with glowing eyes and sharp features stared at him with curiosity, anger, or even pity. None of them laughed. None of them doubted. This was no joke. Daniel swallowed hard. Elder, with respect, I cannot accept this. I'm not from your world. I am not bound by your laws. The elder's long robes shimmered as he stepped closer. His eyes glowed like fire in the dim light. Do you dishonor your friend? He gave his trust to you. He gave his family to you. To reject them is to reject his spirit. The words pierced Daniel's chest like a blade. He remembered his friend's voice, his laugh, the way he had stood beside him in battle. That friend had saved him more than once. And now, he was being asked to repay a debt in the strangest way possible. Daniel tried to reason. In my world, marriage is about choice, love, freedom. Your law binds without asking. How can that be fair to them, or to me? A murmur rose from the crowd. Some aliens hissed in anger. Others whispered in shock that a human dared to question their oldest law. The elder raised his hand for silence. Our law is older than the stars we walk beneath. It does not bend for outsiders. A sister without protection is a shame to the family. A warrior's friend is the chosen one to carry that duty. That is our way. That is the bond. Daniel's eyes shifted to the sisters standing quietly before him. Their veils glowed faintly under the hall's blue lights. He could see their faces now. Graceful, alien, yet strangely familiar in their expressions. Fear, hope, sorrow. One of them avoided his gaze, her hands trembling. Another stared at him with fierce pride, as if testing his courage. He wondered what they thought of this. Were they angry? Were they afraid? Did they hate this law as much as he did? Then one sister stepped forward. Her voice was calm, but her words carried weight. You may not want this. Neither did we. But the law binds us all. Without it, we are left with nothing. You do not yet understand what it means to refuse. Daniel felt the tension in her words. Refuse? What could be worse than being forced into such a fate? The elder spoke again, his voice echoing across the chamber. You are bound, Daniel of Earth. If you accept, you will live among us, and the sisters will stand at your side. If you reject, you dishonor us, dishonor him, and bring danger upon yourself. Daniel's hands curled into fists. Danger? He asked. What danger? The elder's expression darkened. To walk away is not so simple. Others watch. Rivals wait. The sisters hold value beyond what you know. If you abandon them, others will claim them by force. Blood will spill, and you will be the cause. Daniel's chest tightened. He was trapped. If he accepted, he would be bound by alien law tied to women he barely knew. If he refused, he would bring chaos, violence, and dishonor to the memory of his friend. He felt the weight of every eye in the chamber pressing down on him. His mind screamed for escape, but his heart told him there was no easy path. Suddenly, the sister who had whispered to him earlier stepped closer. Her eyes, sharp and filled with warning, met his. She spoke so softly that only he could hear. You don't know this law, she said. You don't know the enemies it creates. Accept for now. If you want to live, accept. Daniel's breath caught. Enemies? He looked around and saw it, in the faces of some aliens watching him with hatred. To them, he was not a husband, not a protector. He was an intruder, a human stealing what should have belonged to their kind. The elder lifted his staff high. Answer now, Daniel of Earth. Accept your duty or face exile. The word exile chilled him. In a galaxy where every corner held danger, exile meant death. Worse, it meant betrayal of his friend's memory. Daniel closed his eyes. He could not see a future where this ended well. But he could feel the burning gaze of the sisters. He could hear his friend's voice in his heart urging him to be strong. He opened his eyes and spoke slowly. I'd accept. The hall erupted in sound. Some cheered. Some shouted in fury. Others whispered in disbelief. The sisters lowered their veils, their faces unreadable, but their silence carried 1,000 questions. The elder struck the ground with his staff. So it is done. By law they are yours. Protect them, guide them, honor them, fail, and the law will not protect you. Daniel felt the weight of invisible chains binding him. This was not victory. This was not freedom. It was the start of something darker, something dangerous. And as he stood there, surrounded by stares of friend and foe alike, he realized a truth that made his blood run cold. This was not about marriage. It was about power, and power always came with enemies. The council chamber slowly emptied. The echoes of angry voices still rang in Daniel's ears. He stood in the center, numb, as the alien elder's words replayed in his mind. By law, they are yours. The sisters stood quietly near the great silver doors. They had lowered their veils, but their faces were still half hidden by shadows. Daniel looked at them, unsure if they were allies, strangers, or prisoners bound to him. The elder's staff struck the ground once more. Take them. They are now under your care. They will guide you to your new home. Daniel wanted to shout, to refuse, to run, but he forced himself to stay calm. He turned toward the sisters. Their eyes were bright, alien, and unreadable, but one thing was clear. They were not the same. Each one carried a different weight in her gaze. The eldest stepped forward first. Her name was Serana. She was tall, graceful, her voice calm and steady. I am the oldest, she said softly. By law, I speak first. You may not know our ways, but we will teach you. For now, walk with us. Daniel nodded slowly. Her words were polite, but her eyes held no warmth. They held calculation, as if she was measuring him. The second sister moved closer. She was younger, sharper in her movements. Her name was Lyra. Unlike Serana, she showed no fear. Her eyes burned with challenge. You are human, she said boldly. Weak, fragile. I don't know why the law gave us to you, but if you fail us, I will never forgive you. Her words stung, but Daniel said nothing. He only met her gaze, and she did not look away. Then came the third. She was quiet, her steps light, almost hesitant. Her name was Aaron. She did not speak at first. She only looked at him with wide, thoughtful eyes. When she finally whispered, her voice trembled. You did not ask for this. Neither did we. But you must be careful. Not everyone here accepts you. There are those who would rather see us all destroyed. Daniel felt the warning chill his blood. Aaron's words echoed the whisper he had heard earlier. You don't know the danger you are in. Before he could ask more, the last sister stepped forward. She was the youngest. Her name was Nea. Her face carried innocence, but her eyes sparkled with curiosity. Unlike the others, she did not look afraid or angry. She tilted her head, studying him as if he were some strange new puzzle. Then she smiled faintly. I think you are different, she said. Maybe. That is why the law chose you. Daniel blinked. Different? The word stayed with him. He wanted to ask what she meant, but Serana raised her hand, silencing the moment. Enough, Serana said. The council is watching us. We must go. The sisters turned toward the doors, and Daniel followed. As they walked through the long corridors of alien stone and glowing lights, he felt the weight of unseen eyes. Aliens whispered in the shadows, glaring at him, judging him. He could feel their hatred. Outside, the alien city stretched beneath two suns. Towers of shining crystal rose into the sky. Bridges of light connected them, and ships hovered above like silent birds. It was beautiful, yet Daniel felt no wonder. He only felt trapped. Serana led them through the streets. Crowds parted as they passed, some bowing in respect, others spitting curses. Daniel caught words in the alien tongue, words he didn't understand, but their tone told him enough. They did not want him here. At last they reached a tall house carved into black stone, its gates marked with golden symbols. Inside, the air was warm and filled with soft light. The sisters guided him to a central hall. This is now your home, Serana said firmly. By law, we live together. You are bound to us. Daniel looked around. The place felt less like a home and more like a cage. He turned to her. Do you want this? Any of you? Silence filled the hall. Lyra crossed her arms, her jaw tight. What we want does not matter. The law does not ask. Aaron looked away, her voice quiet. We had no choice. Just as you had none. Nea tilted her head again, her smile fading. But choice or not, we must survive. Daniel felt the weight of their words. 4 sisters, each carrying their own truth. He could see the cracks in their unity. They were not just brides forced upon him, they were people, each with fears, secrets, and hopes. He finally spoke. Listen to me. I may be bound by your law, but I am not your master. I am not here to control you. I will not force myself into your lives. If I am to stay, I will protect you. That I promise. For the first time, Serana's expression softened just a little. Lyra frowned but said nothing. Aaron looked at him with quiet hope, and Nea smiled again, a spark of light in the heavy room. But before the moment could grow, a loud sound echoed outside the house, harsh, metallic, like weapons striking the gates. Serana's face hardened. Lyra moved toward the door, anger flashing in her eyes. Aaron whispered fearfully, "They've come already." Daniel froze. "Who?" Nea's voice was soft, almost playful, but her eyes were serious. "The ones who do not accept you. The ones who want us for themselves." Daniel's fists clenched. His new life had barely begun, and already enemies were at the gate. The heavy sound at the gate echoed through the stone walls. Daniel's chest tightened as the sisters exchanged worried looks. The noise came again, metal against metal, harsh and sharp like a warning. Serana's voice was low but steady. "Stay here." She moved toward the entrance with quick steps, her robes flowing behind her. Lyra ignored the command. She grabbed a short blade from the wall and stood near the door, her eyes blazing. "If they think they can take what belongs to us, they will bleed." Daniel felt the air grow tense. "Wait," he said firmly. "You don't even know who's outside. Let me—" But Erin shook her head, her voice trembling. "You don't understand. This was expected. The moment the law bound us to you, enemies would rise. They believe a human has no right to hold us. To them, you are a thief." Nea stood beside him, calm yet curious. She whispered, "Watch carefully, Daniel. This is how our world works. Power never stays quiet." The gates opened with a sudden crash. A group of aliens stormed inside, 6 of them, tall and armed with glowing staffs. Their armor gleamed under the hall lights. The leader stepped forward, his eyes sharp and full of hatred. "This is an insult," he shouted. "A human holding alien brides? Impossible. The law may speak, but we reject it." Serana raised her hand, her voice cutting through the chaos. "The council has spoken. The bond is sealed. You defy not us, but the law itself," the leader sneered. "The law is weak if it gives our sisters to an outsider. He does not belong here. He is not worthy." His eyes locked on Daniel, burning with challenge. "I claim them. I claim all 4. Lyra's blade flashed in the light. "You dare?" she hissed. Daniel's fist tightened. His voice came out steady, though his heart raced. "I didn't ask for this. But I won't let you take them." The leader laughed coldly. "You, a human? You cannot fight us. You cannot even survive among us. Leave now or die." The sisters stood tense around Daniel. Serana's calm mask cracked for just a moment, revealing worry. Aaron clutched Nea's arm, whispering prayers under her breath. Daniel felt cornered, but something stirred in him. Memories of battles fought beside his alien friend, of survival against impossible odds. He stepped forward, meeting the leader's glare. "If you think I will run," Daniel said, "then you never knew my friend. He trusted me with his life, and I will not dishonor him now." The leader's grin turned sharp. "Then prove it, face me, 1 against 1. If you win, you keep them. If you lose, they are mine." The hall fell silent. The sisters looked at Daniel with wide eyes. Serana's voice was urgent. "Don't, he is trained in combat. You cannot win," but Daniel only shook his head. "If I don't fight, you lose everything anyway." Nea's smile faded, her voice quiet. "Be careful, Daniel. Some fights are not about strength. They are about will." The challenge was set. The floor was cleared. The other warriors formed a circle, their staffs glowing like fire. The sisters stood close to the edge, their faces tense. The leader stepped into the ring, his armor gleaming. He twirled his staff with deadly grace. "Prepare to be broken." Daniel stepped forward, his heart pounding. He had no weapon, no armor. But he had courage. He had memory. He had something the alien could never understand. The stubborn will of a human who refused to bow. The fight began. The alien struck first, his staff cutting through the air with blinding speed. Daniel dodged, barely, the force of the strike cracking the stone floor. He stumbled but kept his ground. The alien pressed again, faster, harder, every blow designed to crush him. Daniel's body screamed with pain as he blocked and dodged, but he refused to fall. He remembered his friend's training, the lessons of survival. Humans were weaker, yes, but they adapted. They endured. Minutes passed, and sweat covered his face. Every strike from the alien grew heavier, every moment more dangerous. The crowd roared with each blow, expecting Daniel to collapse. But he stayed standing, refusing to give up. Finally, the alien grew careless, swinging too wide. Daniel seized the moment. He stepped in close, grabbed the staff and used the alien's own weight to twist him to the ground. The hall gasped. Daniel stood over him, breathless but unbroken. "This fight ends now." The alien snarled, trying to rise, but Serana's voice cut through the silence. "The law has chosen. The fight is done." The other warriors hesitated, then pulled their leader back. Their glares promised that this was not over, but for now they retreated. As the doors slammed shut, Daniel's knees weakened. He almost fell, but Naya rushed to his side, steadying him. Her eyes sparkled with something new, admiration. "You fought like one of us," she whispered. Serana's face was still stern, but her tone softened. "You earned respect today. But understand this, Daniel. Victory does not end conflict. It only begins it." Daniel's chest heaved as he looked at the sisters. He knew Serana was right. This was no simple inheritance. It was a battlefield, and in the shadows, enemies waited for the next chance to strike. The night after the fight was heavy with silence. Daniel sat inside the stone house, his body aching from every strike he had taken. The sisters moved quietly around him, tending to their own thoughts. The city outside was restless, whispers running like cold wind through every street. A human had beaten a trained alien warrior. Some saw it as luck, others saw it as insult. Daniel stared into the glowing fire pit at the center of the hall. His mind was not calm. He knew the fight had only won him a moment of peace. Nothing more. Serana stood nearby, watching him with her calm, unreadable eyes. "You defended us," she said finally, "but defense is not enough. Tomorrow you must prove yourself in a different way." Daniel lifted his head. "What do you mean?" "The council demands it," Serana replied. "Every outsider who takes a family must face the trial of union. It is the first challenge of loyalty. If you fail, the law cannot protect you or us." Daniel frowned. "Another test?" His voice was weary. "What is this trial of union?" Erin spoke softly from the corner, her hands trembling slightly. "It is a trial of heart. You must stand before the elders and answer questions of law, tradition, and spirit. They will test your truth, your honor, and your intent. If they believe you lie, they will strip you of your right to us. They will cast you out." Lyra's voice was sharp. "And if that happens, the rivals waiting outside will claim us by force." Daniel felt the weight of their words sink deep into him. Fighting with his fists was one thing. Fighting with words, with laws he barely understood, was another. Naya smiled faintly, her tone almost teasing. "Don't worry too much. Humans are good at talking, aren't they? Maybe that is your real strength." Daniel exhaled slowly. "I'll do it. If it keeps you safe, I'll face whatever trial they give." The next morning, the sisters led him through the city. Crowds gathered along the streets, whispering, pointing, some with hatred in their eyes. They reached the great council chamber again, its shining walls glowing brighter under the twin suns. Inside, the circle of elders waited. Their eyes burned with judgment. Daniel stood in the center. The sisters remained behind him, silent but tense. The elder who had first spoken to him now raised his staff. "Daniel of Earth, you accepted the bond of law. But the bond is not complete until you prove your heart. The trial of union begins." The chamber darkened. Strange glowing patterns appeared on the floor, symbols of law older than memory. The elder's voice echoed. "Do you accept these sisters as your family? Will you protect them, even if it costs your life?" Daniel spoke clearly. "Yes, I will protect them. Do you see them as property or as people with their own spirit?" Daniel hesitated for only a second, then answered firmly. "As people, always." The elders leaned closer, murmuring to each other. The questions continued, sharper, more dangerous. "Would you betray your own kind for them? Would you fight against your world if our law demands it?" Daniel's heart raced. These were not simple questions. They were traps. He chose his words carefully. "I will not betray who I am, but I will never abandon them. I will find a way to protect both." The chamber grew louder with whispers. Some elders frowned. Others nodded slightly, impressed. Finally, the last question came. The elder's voice lowered, heavy with meaning. "Do you accept that by our law their lives are tied to yours? If you fail, they die with you. Do you accept this burden?" The sisters stiffened behind him. Even Serana's calm mask broke. Daniel froze. The weight of the words was crushing. If he failed, they would die too. His throat tightened. But he looked at the sisters. Serana's strength, Lyra's fire, Erin's fear, Naya's hope. He could not walk away. "Yes," he said, his voice steady. "I accept it." Whatever fate I face, they face it with me. The chamber went silent. The glowing symbols flared bright, then faded. The elder lowered his staff. So it is done. The bond is sealed. You have passed the first challenge. Relief washed over Daniel, but only for a breath. Because in that silence he noticed something strange. Some elders looked displeased, their eyes sharp with hidden anger. One of them leaned toward another and whispered words Daniel could not hear. The trial was over, but the danger had only deepened. As they left the chamber, Erin tugged at Daniel's arm, her voice urgent. You spoke well, but you don't understand. The more you pass, the greater the threat becomes. Daniel frowned. What do you mean? Her eyes darkened with fear. There are secrets in this law. Secrets my brother never told you. And if you don't uncover them soon, this bond will destroy us all. Daniel felt the weight of her words sink like stone into his chest. He had survived the trial. He had spoken truth. He had been accepted, but now he knew. He was walking deeper into a trap he could not yet see. The trial of union was over, but Daniel's heart was far from calm. The words of Erin echoed in his mind. There are secrets in this law. If you don't uncover them soon, this bond will destroy us all. Back in the stone house, the sisters moved quietly, each lost in her own thoughts. Daniel sat at the fire pit again, staring into the flames. The trial had bound them closer, but it had also tied their fates to his. If he failed, they would fall with him. That thought pressed on him heavier than any chain. Serana broke the silence first. Her voice was low but firm. You spoke with honor today. The council respects strength, but they also test words. You passed both. She paused, her eyes unreadable. But understand, Daniel. They will not stop testing you. Daniel nodded. I know, but I won't walk away. I can't. Lyra leaned against the wall, arms crossed. Her tone was sharp, but her eyes held something softer than before. You fought for us. You spoke for us. Maybe you are not as weak as I thought, but do not think this makes us safe. The rivals will not stop until they break you or take us. Erin sat near the fire, her hands clasped tight. She spoke in a whisper. The law is not only about protection. It is about control. Every step you take, every promise you make pulls you deeper, and there is more you do not know. Daniel turned toward her. Then tell me, what is it I don't know? Erin's eyes filled with fear. The law was created long ago in a time of war. Sisters were given to warriors not only as family, but as chains. If the warrior failed, the sisters died too. It was designed to force men to fight harder, to never surrender. Now that same law binds us to you. If you fall, so do we. Daniel's chest tightened. He already knew his failure would cost them. But hearing it from her lips made the truth feel sharper. That's not fair, he said, his voice low. You didn't choose this. None of you did. For the first time, Serana's expression softened. Fairness has nothing to do with survival, but... She hesitated, then added quietly, choice can still matter. Daniel looked at her, confused. Choice? Nea, who had been silent until now, moved closer. Her eyes shone with curiosity, but also something warmer. Yes, law binds us, but choice is what makes us human or alien. You may not have chosen this bond, but how you live it, that is still your decision. Her words stirred something inside Daniel. For days he had only thought of the sisters as a duty, a weight placed on him by law. But now, sitting with them, seeing their fear, their strength, their hidden hope, he began to see them differently. They were not just inherited wives, they were people, each with their own heart, and slowly, dangerously, he felt a pull toward them, not just duty, but something deeper. That night, as the city slept, Daniel walked out to the balcony overlooking the glowing towers. Erin joined him quietly, her steps light. She stood beside him, staring at the twin moons. You remind me of him, she whispered. Daniel turned. Your brother? She nodded. Yes, he fought for us, but he also carried us in his heart. He wanted us safe, even if it meant breaking the law. That is why he chose you. He believed you were different. Daniel's chest ached at her words. He missed his friend more than ever, but he also felt the heavy responsibility pressing deeper. I don't know if I'm strong enough, he admitted. Erin's gaze was steady. Strength is not only muscle. It is love, it is loyalty. That is what makes humans different. That is what the council fears. Daniel felt her words sink deep. He wanted to protect them, not just because of law, but because of who they were. Yet he also knew that caring too much could make him weak, vulnerable to those waiting in the shadows. Later, Lyra confronted him. Her voice was sharp, but her eyes betrayed conflict. Do not let feelings blind you. Love is dangerous here. Rivals will use it against you. If you show them your heart, they will crush it. But Nea, standing behind her, shook her head. No, love is not weakness. It is the only weapon they cannot control. The sisters were divided, and Daniel was caught in between. Duty told him to stay strong, distant, unshaken. But his heart whispered something else. That love might be the very thing that could save them. The tension grew heavier in the days that followed. Daniel began to feel the bond pulling at him, changing him. He caught himself looking at the sisters differently. At Serana's quiet strength, Lyra's fire, Aaron's fragile courage, Nea's bright hope. Each one was more than law. Each one was life, but in the shadows whispers grew louder. Rivals watched. Enemies plotted. The council itself seemed divided. Some wanted him gone, others wanted him tested further, and somewhere, beyond all of it, lay a secret that none of them had spoken aloud. One evening, as Daniel sat by the fire, Serana finally spoke the words that froze his blood. Daniel, soon you will face the final decision. When it comes, you will have to choose. Will you stand by duty or by love? And whichever path you choose, know this: the galaxy will never be the same. Daniel's heart raced. Love or duty? Both paths led into darkness. Both paths carried danger, and he knew the time to choose was coming fast. The days passed quickly, but every hour carried a heavy weight. Daniel could feel it in the silence of the house, in the glances of the sisters, and in the whispers on the streets. The city was waiting. The council was waiting. The enemies were waiting. At last, the summons arrived. A group of armored guards came to the stone house, their faces hard and cold. The time has come, their leader said. The final decision will be made today. Daniel rose slowly. His heart beat fast, but his steps were steady. The sisters followed him in silence. Each of them carried a different expression. Serana calm but tense, Lyra fierce and ready for battle, Aaron pale with worry, and Nea strangely calm, her eyes glowing with quiet faith. The council chamber was filled with hundreds of aliens. Elders sat in their high seats, glowing symbols marked the floor, and rival clans stood watching, their eyes sharp and hungry. The moment Daniel entered, the noise of the hall grew louder. Shouts, curses, whispers of anger. The elder raised his staff, and silence fell. His voice rang through the chamber. Daniel of Earth, you have accepted the bond. You have passed the trials, but the law demands one last choice. Today you must decide. Will you accept these sisters fully as wives by our law, or will you release them and walk away forever? The words struck like thunder. The hall stirred with noise again. Daniel's throat tightened. He had known this moment would come, but hearing it aloud shook him. Accept them fully, and his life would be tied to them forever. Reject them, and the law would cast him out. Either way, the decision would change everything. Serana stepped closer, whispering, Choose carefully. The law is a blade. It cuts both ways. Lyra's hand brushed the hilt of her blade. Do not show weakness. If you accept, we stand strong. If you walk away, they will destroy us all. Aaron's eyes filled with tears. Please, Daniel. Whatever you choose, think of the cost. If you fail, we die with you. I don't want to die. Nea's voice was soft but steady. Listen to your heart, Daniel. Not the law. Not their threats. Your heart. Daniel's chest burned with the weight of their voices. He looked around the chamber at the rows of elders, at the rivals waiting to see him fail, at the sisters who now carried their lives in his hands. He thought of his friend, the warrior who had trusted him, who had given him this burden. The elder's staff struck the floor. Speak, human. What is your choice? Daniel took a deep breath. His voice was steady, but it carried across the hall like fire. I accept them, not as property, not as trophies of your law, but as my family. I will protect them not because of your rules, but because it is what my heart demands. Your law may bind us, but my choice is my own. Gasps filled the chamber. Some shouted in fury, others in disbelief. The rivals roared in anger. But Daniel did not stop. You think your law controls me, but I am human. I do not bend to chains. I choose them, not because I must, but because I want to. And if you try to take them, you will face me, and you will learn what it means when a human stands for those he loves. The chamber shook with chaos. Elders rose from their seats, rivals drew their weapons, the crowd split between outrage and awe. but the glowing symbols on the floor flared bright, responding to Daniel's words. The law itself had accepted his choice. The elder's staff shook in his hand. His eyes glowed with anger and something else, fear. So it is done. By law, by choice, by flame of spirit. The bond is complete. These sisters are yours. None may take them. The rivals shouted in protest, but the guards blocked them. The decision was final. The law could not be broken. Daniel turned to the sisters. Serana's eyes finally softened with respect. Lyra gave a fierce smile. Erin wiped her tears, relief flooding her face. Nea stepped closer, her hand brushing his arm. You chose love, she whispered. That is why you are different. As the chamber slowly emptied, Daniel felt the weight on his shoulders, but it was no longer a chain. It was purpose. He had not only accepted them, he had defied the law itself by making his choice his own. The path ahead would not be easy. Enemies would still come. The council would still test him. But for the first time, Daniel felt ready, because in that moment, surrounded by those who now looked to him not as a stranger, but as family, he understood the truth his friend had known all along. Humans were not special because of strength or power. They were special because of heart. And in a galaxy of laws and chains, that heart was the one thing that could never be broken.